And the last thing, the most important piece, is we're going to take the North and never give it back.
Laying the foundation for future success. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus set out with one major goal for the 2022 season: changing the culture in the locker room while laying the foundation for success. The season was never about wins or losses, it was always about a reset. Resetting the culture, resetting the salary cap, and resetting the roster. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus used this season to identify the team's building blocks, the guys who would stick around long term. To be honest, there weren't that many building blocks to go around. However, the improvement seen from Justin Fields and the potential he showed in a disastrous season was nothing short of magical. Ryan Poles has taken a ton of criticism for the way he tore this roster down. It takes a lot of guts as a GM to do that, especially with beloved fan favorites such as Roquan Smith and Khalil Mack, or a guy who just set the franchise sack record last year in Robert Quinn. Ryan Poles is a bold GM who has a clear vision to turn this roster around. This season was never about acquiring talent. The salary cap wasn't ready for that, and we didn't have the draft capital either. It was also important to establish the culture and lay the foundation. It's important in every winning culture, and Eberflus and company laid the groundwork this season. It may not have played out in the win column, but the way this team fought with a depleted roster late in the year against Buffalo and Philadelphia was memorable. Ryan Poles' goal this year was to take flyers on as many low-risk, high-reward players as he could and build depth on this roster. I believe he did a pretty good job, but the grade for the coaching staff and Ryan Poles is still incomplete. Nobody should be giving up on them yet, though. It's simply too early. I've often praised what Ryan Poles is doing. I believe I see his vision, and I agree with it. Unfortunately, what he's done was needed to be done. The success of this season comes from Ryan Poles' first draft class, the potential diamonds in the rough he found, and of course the growth of Justin Fields. Our quarterback was far from perfect this season, and he has plenty of room to get better, but he needs help on offense. He also needs a defense that can hold opposing teams below 30 points a game. However, it is undeniable the superstar potential Justin Fields showed the world this season. And now the ball is in Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham's hands. They have all the cap space imaginable, the number one pick in the draft, as well as extra picks in the 4th and 5th rounds, and the flexibility that GMs dream about. This is, quite simply put, one of the biggest off seasons in franchise history. This roster has a lot of holes, but our front office now has the ammunition to fill these holes and put a competitive team around our franchise quarterback. Getting the number one pick was huge for this rebuild. Let me give you yet another reason why. Ryan Poles now has over 3 months to shop this pick. If we had the second pick, we could shop it, but without knowing for sure who is going number one, it's hard to trade the number 2 pick. Poles now has until April 27th to take calls and find the best deal. He can take his time and hold on to the pick all the way till draft night, or strike a deal early with whoever makes the best offer. This is a pivotal moment in franchise history, and it's up to Ryan Poles to make the right decision. I have full trust in not only Ryan Poles, but him and Ian Cunningham, the dynamic duo. I believe they will hit a couple of home runs this offseason and fully put their stamp on this roster. This year was more about getting rid of Ryan Pace's guys and finding who fits in long term, while also searching for low-risk, high-reward type guys or diamonds in the rough. Now Ryan Poles actually gets to spend money and is loaded with draft picks. The NFL needs to be put on notice. On top of that, Poles also already found a couple of diamonds in the rough in guys like Jack Sanborn and Jalen Jones. His rookie class also was very impressive. Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon look like long-term building blocks. Velus Jones Jr. began showing his potential late in the season. Braxton Jones has started 17 games at left tackle as a rookie and now gets to spend an entire offseason in our strength and conditioning program. I am so glad we still have Ian Cunningham and that he got to scout this draft with Ryan Poles. I just love having two guys with eyes for talent at the top of the organization, and they get full control of this roster. They are not handicapped by ownership. Isn't that what we have always wanted as fans? I believe it is. A lot of fans just don't see it that way yet. They don't realize that if ownership had a say in this, or if Ryan Poles was handcuffed, he wouldn't have been able to trade Khalil Mack, or Roquan Smith, or Robert Quinn. But he was, because he is making this his team. And for the first time in my lifetime, we have a general manager that is building our team the right way. I've said it all along that this season was about laying the foundation, and that began last year. Now this offseason is about putting Ryan Poles' stamp on this roster and turning this team into a competitor. And that begins right now. The foundation is in place. And now it's time for Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham to put the walls up so we can finally take the North and never give it back. That's what this has always been about. I think a lot of fans just misunderstood that Ryan Poles didn't mean we were going to take the North this season, but it's coming. Have a little bit of patience, guys. I have another video coming out later today breaking down what realistic trade options look like for that #1 pick. Keep an eye out for that. I appreciate everybody who watches. Please hit that like button for me. And until next time, bear down.
When you say championship habits are being established, do you believe that because of that, even though you're 3-13, the season has gone well?
I would just say that you're laying foundation, for the future. And when you do that, when it's a solid foundation based on principles that win, okay, that is going to be championship work habits and championship habits you can build upon. If you were to say, hey, we don't have the work ethic, we don't have the hustle, the intensity that we want to see, and all the things that we talk about that we stand on, then it would be a different story. But we see those every single day, and the guys are working their tail off. So I believe that's a great foundation for our future to stand on.
Did you come into the season thinking that that was what you were going to be watching for this year rather than the results?
I'm always watching that. That's going to be something you always have to watch, because when you have great success, guess what? That creeps in too. So it's the other side of the coin, right? That we can't see right now, but we're going to see it, right? And then you got to make sure you still have that great foundation to stand on, because there's things that come with that too. So we got to make sure we're doing a good job with that.